Okay guys, so yesterday we talked about the tools that you guys will have access to during the M-STEP test. And this is one of the sample items from the test. And as you can see here, those tools that we talked about yesterday are listed right at the top of this particular question. Again, this is the pointer where you're going to select your actual responses. Right here is the highlighter where you can go through and highlight specific parts of the text. Here is the sticky note that you can add to specific parts of the test, and then you can go back to it later. And then notice when you click out of the sticky note, you're able to revisit that sticky note here by double clicking on it. Here's a magnifier. You can ask to increase the size by 1.5, by 2. You can still go back and forth here, and then you can always turn that off as well. And then this is that line guide function that I was talking with you guys about. So read the text one by one here. You can double click on that, and that line guide will be there to help you. Notice how it shows this line here. So you can go through line by line and only read the one line that you want, and then you can turn that off if you would like to as well. Another thing that you can do is when you go to respond, you can click on your responses here, just like we talked about. But then let's say you want to start over, you can click that eraser button and notice how all of your responses just go away. What I'm going to start with by talking with you guys about is those directions. Notice here right off the bat that the directions you're given say click on 2 sentences that best support the conclusion that the character, one of the people in this story, is very observant. So I always like to start with the question being asked of me before I read the selection. So as I'm reading, I can read this selection with this question in mind. So I know that because of this this question, I am looking for this character right here. Look at, I'm using my tools. And I am looking for areas in the text where he is observant. And then I'm also going to highlight this word to, because I know that I'm going to need to click on 2 different selections here. So you're going to have a lot of responses like this in the ELA specific test. You're going to have to read a selection here, use the tools here, and then you'll click on responses. These are not the correct answers. I'm just showing you for an example. And then when you're done, click next. Another thing that you're going to have to do inside of the ELA M-STEP test is do what we started doing last week, okay? This idea of summary statements. We've been talking about summary statements in theme all year long, so this is nothing new for you guys. The difference is sometimes the M-STEP writers like to trick you a little bit, and instead of using the word theme, they'll use these 2 words, central idea. Both of those things are synonyms of one another. They mean the same thing. So in this particular question, it's being asked of you which sentence best summarizes a central idea of the text. Remember when we read that article about plastic bags? I asked you this question word for word. You're going to answer this question based on the selection that you just read here. And then again, you'll click back on the pointer after the highlighter, you'll choose your answer, and then you'll click next, okay? One of the things that I personally get frustrated about on the M-STEP test is because of the way that some of these questions are worded. Things like which statement is most accurate about both, and then it talks about these characters. What that tells me is that there's probably more than one accurate or true statement here, but what you're going to look for is the one that is most accurate, meaning the one that you could take the most evidence from the text from and prove that it is true. So that's why we've been talking about evidence like crazy, because you want to find statements that are the most accurate based on the information that's given from the text. Again, this isn't the right answer. I'm just clicking through here so you guys know. Other parts of the text that you're going to need to do is take certain excerpts, from the text and really think deeply about it. So word choice is something that's going to be big for you guys. That's why I asked you to talk about the word mass or majority when we were doing our warm-ups last week, those all go with word choice. And then notice how in-depth the questions are getting. Not only is it going to want you to think about the central idea or theme of the text, word choice of the text, but also how the characters or people involved in the text connect with one another. Notice how they use this word plot. We talk about plot like crazy in our ELA classes, right? Remember the plot mountain that we did so much work about. All of that is going to go back to your test selection here as well. So one thing I want to say to you guys is that rereading the selections that are given to you is not a bad idea. Going back and rereading specifically parts that are tricky for you is absolutely okay. Notice here, this was taken from the warm-up that we did last week. You guys can go back and reread things anytime that you want to. That's the beauty of doing this online. Tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit more about some other questions that you guys will have on the M-STEP test.